Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this roundtable. Help your campus connect using Dante AV. I'm Cindy Davis, Content Director for AV Technology. This is guaranteed to be a dynamic and interactive hour, and we hope that means you too. So please enter your questions into the Q&A box, not the chat box. And throughout the hour, we're going to take some questions as they work into the discussion. We're going to leave a few minutes at the end for you to ask more. If there's any that we didn't get to in a couple of weeks after we all return from ISE, expect questions answered in your inboxes. So we're going to have a really amazing discussion with the members from Audinate and AJA teams and a special guest from West Park High School. We'll focus on how Dante AV Ultra enables your IP workflow solutions and learn how West Park High School embraced Dante AV Ultra. We're going to wrap up with Q&A, and let's just get right into it. I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves in their roles within the company and a brief description of their company while we're all together here. So we'll get into greater detail as the discussion plays out. So Kat, if you wouldn't mind starting, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Kat Taub. I am from Audinate. We are the makers of Dante, and I'm the product marketing manager specifically for the networked video products.
Great.
Hi,
And Damien.
my name's Damian Horn, and I'm a product manager, AJA Video Systems, and we make lots of video product for all kinds of industries.
Wonderful. And Barry.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name's Barry Gotch. I'm the product marketing manager for AJ Video Systems. And as Damien said, we make products that cover a lot of video needs. And I'm excited to talk about this IP video solution that we have, Dante AV, in front of us.
Wonderful. And our special guest, John.
Good morning. My name is John Odes, and I am a media arts teacher at West Park High School. We are a large-ish, I guess, and growing brand new high school in Northern California. And I teach, like I said, CTE media arts and broadcast.
Wonderful. Thank you. So for the folks who might not be aware of Dante, Kat, if you wouldn't mind starting off with a bit of history and development of Dante and Dante AV.
Absolutely. So in the sort of early 2000s, around 2006, Dante was developed to really take advantage of new developments in networking technology to be able to replace old analog and digital audio point-to-point connections with the power of the network. So instead of our signal flow kind of following the path of our cables, like our stage box with that big bulky snake plugged into our mixing console, now all devices get plugged into the network, making it much easier to do things like send multiple channels down a single cable. Ethernet cables easier to install than proprietary audio cabling, which can be quite bulky and can tend to pick up noise. We have longer cable distance runs, and even today you can take Dante audio around the globe utilizing the cloud. So really sending signals everywhere, even to multiple devices, so doing splits without the need for additional hardware. So while we started with sort of that live music mindset, the ability to utilize existing networks with Dante means we can manage devices outside of the room and help Dante really take off also in the commercial install space and not just in sort of live AV.
Wonderful. So Damien, now that we've learned a little bit about Dante's role in video and AV, please share how AJA got involved with Dante AV. And Barry, feel free to join in here as well.
Sure. Well, we had so much success with our first Dante audio product that we made for Open Gear, the Dante 12G AM embedder, disembedder, that when we had the opportunity to partner with Audinate again on Dante AV Ultra, we just thought it was a great opportunity that could provide a product that helped a lot of people that were already very familiar and comfortable using Dante audio. Along with that, just the features that Dante AV Ultra brought to AV over IP of it having audio video sync and ultra low latency, talking subframe, and just the overall quality of the codec is fantastic.
Yeah, and I'll just add that the ease of implementation for people that are already familiar with Dante audio networks, it makes it simple to plug in video devices into your existing Dante network. And that was another thing that really attracted us, because there is the shift to IP video solutions, and Dante is a strong candidate for that.
Yeah, I would say absolutely with Dante AV, the reason we kind of did it was the requests for video that works just like Dante audio does. So bringing the idea, we bring that interoperability between manufacturers and using Dante controller, an interface you're already familiar with, and being able to really easily break out audio from your devices because they're just Dante audio channels, without kind of converting the signal or adding additional hardware, software, demuxing.
Great. So now I'd like to hear from John. I'd love to hear about your school and how you came to use Dante in your school.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Our school, like I said, is a large-ish school in Northern California. We're brand new, so there's a lot of newish technology being installed and lots of new buildings one at a time being built. And so I teach the CTE Career Tech Ed, kind of think old school wood shop classes, but now for more advanced career technology. And we came across some problems when we were going through the new building. So they installed this beautiful brand new building. It had a broadcast room for me to use. It had a theater space that was going to serve as a temporary theater while the big theater is being built someday. Had some classrooms, et cetera. And they were walking us through, showing us, hey, this new building has this wonderful new thing, Dante Audio, all installed. And you've got this camera right here. And we were going through in the theater teacher just very casually said, so how do my performers see their cues and hear their cues backstage, which is a very common thing in the theater world. And they didn't have that solution built in, and that was really a bummer for her. So that got me talking with my friend Damien, who works at AJA. And we started looking at the fact that, hey, we already have this Dante audio network, and this distance between this theater space, and you can go ahead and advance to that slide. They can see that theater space a little bit. Between the theater space and the actual backstage room, where they would need to have this video and audio feed, was pretty far. It was beyond 300 feet. And so he started showing me this new product, and we tried it out. And the beauty of it was just that plug and play, get the audio straight from the front of house mixing board, take the existing, and that was the thing, we had existing SDI connection, take that existing SDI connection, attach the audio to it, make that connection on the other end. We've got the box connected to the teacher's projector just through HDMI. And so then they have zero latency, practically, video and audio, so they can hear their cues and see their cues and know when they're supposed to go on stage. And this was a big game changer for us. And so in that process, I started taking some of the Audinate training that's available on, which is fantastic if you haven't gone and taken it. It's free. It's on their website. Go do it. I learned a ton about the functionality and the potential of what it could do. And that just started really getting other ideas going. So then we started thinking, well, we have this other space that's also backstage. It's a kind of a small area for backstage. It wasn't designed to be a theater for as large of a school for very long as we are. So we're kind of just making things work while we can. Go figure, a school ran out of money building all sorts of things, and they have to wait and raise the money to build the next big building. So we're going to be here a while. So we thought, well, we can do the same thing for this lobby area. So there's the theater space. We had an SDI camera. There's the front of house mixer. And then way back there behind that stage is the teacher's classroom. So we just got the box plugged into the primary on the Dante port, and then into the box, and then HDMI out of that, going straight into that teacher's projector screen. And now the students can see and hear what's going on stage and know when they need to go on. So then we need to expand this, and this is another awesome feature, is the multicast functionality, the ability to send it multiple places at once. So in the next slide, there's a lobby area that we're going to tap into that TV as well, and use this as a secondary backstage area. So again, just the fact that we're not going to hear that slapbacky echo because of latency issues. These areas could be heard in the front of house potentially at the doors open. They're pretty close. And so also in this process, it was important to me because in our broadcast facility, we have some existing SDI gear that I wanted to make sure that we could functionally use. And so I've used some of AJA's products in the past with a former role that I had at a house of worship, and I trusted them because we had to do them for live streaming and they never went down. And so I was like, okay, if I'm going to be doing something like this, I want to use something reliable. And so that's when we reached out. We started playing around with it, and again, just starting to look at the potential of what this could be. It's kind of opened up my eyes to, all right, this is bigger. This is the new thing. Let's make sure the kids that are learning this kind of technology and operating this technology aren't learning something that's done and old from 10 years ago, but they're learning what's coming, and they're being prepared for careers in that field.
Wonderful. I know people are going to have a lot of questions about this installation, and tell us a little bit. When we were talking earlier, you'd mentioned different ways that you wanted to extend this installation.
Yeah, absolutely. So when this system was installed and designed, Dante AV wasn't a thing quite yet, and so they have primary Dante ports in some places in our building, kind of using it kind of standard how Dante audio would normally be used. But now that it's more full featured, we want some ports other places. And so now we're looking at, okay, if I don't have a port here that I can plug into, can I just do a jumper? So I'm talking with the tech team about just making some of my standard network ports into Dante ports, just dedicating them to the Dante network. Now, when I plug into that, it automatically jumps on the Dante network, and I can expand the number of places that I can plug in. So I'm hoping to, the next step is to get our broadcast room with our legacy SDI equipment. We've got a video mixer that's got audio and video coming in, getting that connected into the Dante AV network, piping it out to different classrooms, different places, as well as we've got a graduation every June that we do out on the football field, and there's network ports out there. So I want to look at going from there and doing overflow. A lot of houses of worship and schools and things have things happen where you just don't have enough capacity in one space and you need to expand it into the next space. So that high quality and different audio sources, different video sources all being plugged in is a great feature. But something for me that's kind of big, I don't know how everybody else's systems work, but here, if we want to do something or change something or add a device to our real network, it goes through this big, long process. It's got to go through the district IT and get cleared, and there's a lot of questions. But the fact that I have a Dante controller and I have the ability to manage that myself as the AV person here, and I can connect what I want to connect, and it's my own network without involving the IT department is fantastic. And that functionality creates a lot more opportunities for me as a teacher.
Great. I'm going to take a pause. I've got a couple of questions that are specific for you, John. If there's only one Ethernet cable run to a given room, does that mean a network switch is needed there to separate out network connectivity for a local computer, maybe an IP cam, and then Dante AV?
That's not our situation. We've got multiple networks in every single room. I can't speak to that.
So if anybody else wants to pick up how that might work.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways you can set up your network for Dante. One could be like a switch in every room that can have multiple VLANs that connect to different services on the network. So that could be like IP security cams versus like your AV system like Dante and Dante AV products, as well as your data network. Or it could be separate switches depending upon the ease of use and how friendly your IT team is.
Mm-hmm.
And another question, do you use Dante Domain Manager at the high school?
Yes, we do.
And can you talk a little bit about that and how you use that?
So I'm fairly new to the Dante world. Like I said, it was kind of like shown to me the potentials of this, and I'm going through the certifications right now. They are handing over the control of that. The local people who set it all up are handing over the control of that actually, I think, next week. So we'll have complete control of doing anything I want with it, outside of changes to their network, obviously, but within the Dante world. So we had an SDI camera plugged into the AJA, and then we went through the Dante network, and on the other end, we had the R unit HDMI out to the projector, and had the audio embedded.
Great. Lots of questions coming in. Thanks so much. One here is, should I have them consider Dante AV as an alternative to NDI? If yes, why?
Do you want to take that, Kat, or do you want me to answer?
Maybe we can both answer that
Yeah,
one.
we'll both answer it. We kind of get in different places
because I think we
from
come
it.
from different places. Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. So obviously AGA makes NDI products, right? So it's not like we recommend it as always the correct alternative. I think in cases like John's, where you already had a really extensive Dante audio system kind of in place, it makes sense. It makes it easier to break out the audio, that sort of thing. We also have solutions that are a little bit different than NDI, especially the AV Ultra solution, which is like visually lossless kind of hardware-based solution, as opposed to software production, which is NDI. So I'd say if you're kind of looking for a hardware-based solution, you have a lot of Dante, that's kind of when you might want to consider Dante AV over, say, NDI perhaps.
Yeah, like Kat's saying, there's two different codecs going on there, so there's difference in quality, and not every tool's the right tool for the right job, and so NDI is gonna be great for some, and Dante AV is gonna be what you need in other situations. With that, the Dante AV Ultra has, AV sync, audio video is synchronous, as well as the subframe ultra low latency, which are pretty unique characteristics. And then you throw the familiarity and ease of use of Dante controller on top of that. Those are things to think about when you're trying to make that decision.
Yeah, and I would just add that in our latest firmware update, we now support reference for Genlock for broadcast users, and we also have HDR support as well.
Right, I'm gonna take a couple more questions because we have so many. What's different, better, Dante AV versus HD-based? What are the differences?
Yeah, John had that same question too, because they have that's out there. One of it is like what he spoke to is just where some of the newer technology is, but the multicasting aspect of what we're able to do with Dante AV Ultra and the integration into the existing Dante audio network, and the quality and the distance runs of that. And Kat, you might be able to add something else to that as well.
Yeah, it's typically those like networked things, because HD-based is typically a point-to-point kind of
Right.
solution. So you're not getting that point to multi-point with just a click of a button. You actually have to have like a matrix switcher, like that can send it out to multiple places.
Great.
Yeah.
How are camera controls being sent through the AGA hardware?
In this instance, they're not, because of the type of camera that was already installed there, but our devices do support VISCA and has RS-422 port on it. So you could connect a PTZ camera on your 4K T box, and then hook up like a remote joystick controller on the 4K R box and be able to control your camera that way.
What are some of the pain points that you were addressing that ultimately led you to the AJA and Dante AV?
So those pain points again, starting with the lack of that video feed in the back was kind of the starting point, and then looking forward as well, we've got this broadcast room with not a great solution for how to get that that feed to some different places and kind of bring stuff in and out, and so it wasn't. So I would say that the theater solution was the pain point that brought us to the AJA product and Dante AV, and now the imagination is growing. I mean, we have a commercial music program we're going to be starting next year, and I'm excited to utilize the functionality of Dante audio with the different applications, bringing the multi-track recording, connected. There's a lot of newer things that I'm like, okay, now I can do this. I can do this. And so there's a lot of learning to do still for me, but it's more about that imagination about what it can do and getting excited about that. This is the version 1.0 we're moving in slowly.
Question about training, specifically on the AGA products. So John, you can probably speak to that, but also folks from AGA, how is training? And students are using this equipment too as well, right?
The training was great. Yeah. And I plan to send my students, my tech students through that training as well as we move forward. I'm only 2 years into this program and developing my student leaders, but they will be all trained in the Dante audio, and that'll be great. And
how much of a learning curve is that?
Honestly, it wasn't terrible. I thought the trainings did a really good job of explaining, had great pictures and like showing how it works and why it works, and even starts at the very basics of this is audio, this is video. So for those who aren't already AV nerds, they can come in and kind of get a little primer on this is how this stuff works, and here's why this works, and here's how these connect. So I plan to utilize that.
Okay, Damian, Barry, if you want to go a little bit into the training that AGA provides, that'd be great.
Sure. We've got some YouTube videos out there as well, as we put a lot into our manual process and really trying to produce top quality manuals that show how to use the equipment, and our AJA support line is top notch as well. It's always available to help customers in need. And, we have a lot of people out in the field. They're also available for demo type setups and, different possibilities there for that.
We have dedicated field service engineers that can do on-site training as needed. We also have, as Damien was saying, California-based support, which has been free since the company began, and that's really a key factor in the AJA ecosystem, is that when you buy something from us, you know that you're going to be, covered from beginning to end with it because of the support team that we have. We test the products before they ship, so it's burnt in and will work when the product arrives to you. And as far as the training goes, I'm a person who came to it new, and I found the Dante online training to be excellent, very easy to understand. I've also done Dante in-person training. They have in-person training at NAMM this week. So that's another great way to connect with other users and find out, their pain points, or get advice from other people that are out there. So you don't feel like, okay, I have this box, now what do I do? You have online resources from us. You have online resources from Dante, and the support from the Dante training team is excellent, I would say.
Yeah,
Nice.
we have pretty good training. We're pretty into like making sure that's updated. We've expanded our training team. We have it in tons of different languages now as well. Hands-on live events have been our kind of goal for the last 2 years. So actually bringing some equipment to shows, having people get that done, as well as a professional services team. So if you're having trouble with your install, need a little bit of extra help, we can help you out there too.
Can folks get Avixa RU credits for this?
Yes, all of the Dante certification has CTS credits, and then some of the electives also have CTS credits.
Nice. Alrighty, so cable limitations, cable distance limitations, are there?
So with copper Ethernet, it's about 100 meters or 300 feet. But then you could run it into a switch, and then that runs fiber through the building, and then there's really no limitation per se in that way. So one cable run, but then you can keep connecting it to more and more network.
Let's talk a little bit about the different applications. John, I mean, you spoke already about some of the different applications that you want to move into within your school. Let's talk about some of the other applications that might be some folks on this webcast might be facing. Damien, if you want to start off with some of the different applications that you know are out there and what they might look like.
Sure. Yeah. If you were to go to our website and look at the product page for Dante AV, we spent a ton of time developing different workflow diagrams because we just kept coming up with, there's so many different applications of where this could be used, whether it's, not just in high school, but I've been at universities where we're talking about using it, any type of government campus, or any campus house of worship works there. When we've done our trade shows, we just have people from all different types of markets and industries coming up and talking to us about how they could see this as a solution in their broadcast studio or their post-production facility for doing having some remote work done. What else was there?
The IMAG and the live concert
Mhm.
venues.
Sure. Yeah. One of the first stories we did was, out there being used on the Rammstein tour. So it's a pretty extensive, far-reaching product as far as the workflows available.
Yeah, and I would say, maybe not necessarily the Dante AV Ultra solution, but for folks looking to do like video conferencing or hybrid classes, like replacing that camera with a Dante AV enabled camera kind of gets rid of those finicky USB HDMI connections or HDMI extenders that add that additional point of failure in the classroom. So that's kind of another way to add Dante to classrooms that already typically support Dante with like ceiling microphones and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I would add also the PoE feature on the Dante AV 4K is really important because it allows you to get power and signal through one cable. So it makes installation super easy.
Yeah, one of the first, before we even started making this product, was someone from a large sports arena coming to us and saying, I need this in video. So yeah, lots of different uses out there.
Yeah, I think all of the Dante AV devices pretty much support PoE. So
Lots more questions coming in. How much bandwidth does video feed take up in a 1G network?
yeah, so I had a whole thing about this. We kind of like skipped around questions. So basically when we're doing video on the network, it's like a totally different ballgame. With audio, you get your like one flow and it's 6 megabits per second. Video is something that's totally different where you kind of need to compress it if you're going to put it on a gigabit network. So there's like this triangle of things that you can focus on. Like one is low latency, one is low bandwidth, and one is high quality at each kind of point, and you have video solutions that are geared towards each of them. So the AV Ultra solution is kind of geared toward that low latency, pretty high quality. And it's going to be, max resolution is about 700. We do have the ability to cap that, but that could introduce things like artifacts, that sort of thing. But that's for a 4K P60 444 video stream. So when you get down into like 1080, that reduces into like a couple hundred as opposed to 7.
Yeah, in the AJA plugin there, we offer the ability to select between a broadcast compression setting and an ultra low latency setting. And while the individual 4KT device you're going to max out at 700, in all of our testing, we don't really need to go that high to produce high quality looking video. So I think in our manual, we recommend even 400 to 500 for UHD and HD options, or excuse me, UHD and 4K options, and then we ship it default out at 250 for HD. So that allows you to put some multiple transmitters and receivers on your switch, and a one to many, you're going to be fine there as well. And one of the things that we noted in this release as well was we were getting asked for, well, can you do, could you do 4x4 and have it all in sync? And so we tested it, and yes, you can. So you should be happy to hear that.
So there's a bunch of questions all around this topic. And you may have addressed this one, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When using AV 4KT, I see the video outputs are active simultaneously, but there are limitations on resolutions that can be reduced to different locations. I think that's a question.
Did you, I, yes, I'm not sure what the question, is there. Yes, you can use multiple transmitters and send them to multiple locations. So, you know, in my setups, I have multiple signals coming in. Maybe the question is around the HDMI input and the SDI input on the T unit, and that allows you have to pick one or the other. So maybe that's what the question is there. It's not a 2-channel input device. I don't know if that clears that up or not.
Okay. What is the compatibility with Dante AV Ultra and Dante AV-H?
Sure, I can answer that one. So basically, in order for video signal to connect between two devices, you have to be using the same codec. So the AV Ultra, the AJA devices use the JPEG 2000 codec, which is this codec that's streamlined for, you know, low latency, really high quality. Where the AV-H devices are using a different codec, H.264, which is more streamlined for lower bandwidth. It's still good quality. It's still only a couple frames of latency. It's still totally like usable in a lot of applications. But you're not you're not going to be able to connect those two video streams together. The only thing right now that accepts both of them is our Dante Studio software. You can either connect an Ultra or an AV-H to that. So it's like sample rate with audio, codecs need to match with video.
So how is the Dante AV Ultra going since its launch?
It's going great.
Yeah.
We had lots of interest in it, lots of demos, different loaner products sent out and being evaluated. You know, it's a new technology, right? And we're one of the forefront companies out there. So there's always going to be some hesitancy in adopting new tech, and you want to kind of see what other people are doing and how they're doing it and did it work for them. And so we fully expect that. And so everything I'd say is on track with that. And like I said, it was been received really well at the trade shows and received a 2023 NAB Product of the Year that we are very happy with, proud of our team on that one. But yeah, it's going great.
So how long actually has that been widely available?
I think we started shipping in middle of last year.
Okay, great. So you've got some really good feedback already.
Yep.
On how that's going. So what are some of the new features in the AJA Dante AV 4KT?
Sure. So there's the two products, right? The 4KT and the 4KR, the
Mhm.
encoder decoder, and we just released 1.1. And I think we mentioned them, but the primary feature enhancements were support for HDR. We've had a lot of requests for that, for workflows of being able to get your HDR signal to its destination. The support for Dante Domain Manager has been huge as well. And then the API that comes along with that for control there. On our, like Barry mentioned, the 4KR, we have a reference in on it that's supported. So if you had a Dante AV kind of system network going on and you've got your signal coming into more of a traditional broadcast studio and you want to tie that in with your house reference, you know, something like our the AJA Gen 10, you can now do that as well. And some other features in there, like being able to use the second Ethernet port to connect a laptop or a Dante audio only device. And what else? The crop scale. Yeah, we got that added in there. So if you had some UHD type sources, but then you needed to knock it down to 1080p because that's what your switcher could handle, or you were trying to, for whatever reason, we've got that option there to select in the plugin now.
Perfect, great. So I'm going to try to do this in another 3 hours. Could Dante AV 4K be the central transmitter receiver in our large conference rooms? Today, we use Extron Crestron for signals to and from our multiple displays, HDMI input for content sharing, mic line in, amplified audio to ceiling speakers, all connecting to our video codecs, Cisco Poly.
I would say yes. And then I would also say, you know, I'll pass the baton here to Kat to talk about the excellent professional services that they provide for answering these types of questions.
Yeah, I would say definitely yes. You're gonna get a similar sort of experience as the Crestron and VX stuff, with Dante V Ultra specifically, plus you get audio sync. Yes, it will work. We also with the Dante Domain Manager API can plug into your control system. So you are still able to use those like panels and processors and that sort of thing. And certainly we have support and professional services to help out with those kind of changes.
Kat, if you wouldn't mind a follow-up, and
Yeah.
because I think that the strength of Dante is in its overall ecosystem.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit, if you would, about the overall Dante ecosystem.
Oh boy.
Oh, and we've got 4 more hours.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the overall Dante ecosystem is thousands of products from hundreds of manufacturers, basically. I think we're up to like over 500 manufacturers or over 550 manufacturers with video manufacturers included. We just hit 50 video licensees, which is really exciting. And so you really have like this ability to pick like almost whatever device you want. You're not like locked into like a walled garden where you're really reliant on just this one device and you can't pick anything else. So if I'm really into like the Midas mixing console, there's a Dante solution for that. I'm not just gonna have to use like a Yamaha solution, right? So I think that's like really the benefit of the Dante ecosystem is you have all these devices that all work together. They all work the same. You configure them like similarly, you route them the same way. So we really benefit from that huge ecosystem of Dante devices. And I think someone was asking about breaking out audio like from your video devices, and you can. It's completely separate channels in Dante controllers. You can send, actually just did a video on this, you can send those audio channels to like your mixing console, or you could bring them into a display with speakers hooked up to the 4K-R device from your like DSP or something like that. So yeah.
Great.
Definitely.
So, question, when will AJA introduce their 2110 product, and will it have Dante included?
Well, I'll let Barry handle that one.
Well, we actually have 2110 mini converters on the market right now. They're 3G capable mini converters. So we do have existing 2110 products, but all I can say right now is stay tuned for future developments. We recognize that there's this shift to IP video, and we have a number of solutions for that. In addition to the Dante device, we have our Bridge Live, which is a powerhouse of streaming solutions that works over IP networks. So there's a number of interesting options that we have already, and we look forward to sharing more in the future.
Right. Are there any known issues on using passive internet cable couplers in a Dante AV or Dante audio networks?
Not that I don't know if I'm understanding it right, but not that I'm aware of, Kat.
I don't know if we're talking like full on like GPON passive networks or I mean, we do have some suggestions for that sort of thing. You can maybe just reach out directly about that
Yeah,
question.
Yeah.
I would definitely suggest that. Sorry, that wasn't an easy
Yeah.
question.
Hey, I'd like to ask John a question since he's kind of silent there in the background. So, John, so what was your I think you've talked about this already, but what was your like learning curve to get started with this? Were you daunted by getting into IP videos, or you were just like, oh, well, I've got this box that from AJA and I can just plug it in? Was there any hesitation to get started with it? Because I'm certainly like, okay, I'll try this new thing, but let's see how it goes first. Or as Damien said, like, you want to see how other people end up using it first.
That's a good question. I think my situation was a little different because I have so the learning curve for Dante itself was not terrible for at least the initial stages of it. But I got to have someone come from AJA and kind of help walk me through some of the setup. So that wasn't terrible either, because I got to ask all my questions in person. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I'm not terribly concerned, like I said, because of history of use of AJAs, adapters and converters and things. I know the quality, so that wasn't a hesitation.
I've got a couple of questions wanting to see your setup again. If you wouldn't mind just kind of doing a quick overview again of how you've got the thing set up. I think now that we've all really had a good feel for what you're doing.
Yeah. So there was an existing static SDI camera, and so we connected that to the AJA converter, the 4K-R. I'm sorry, the T unit, and that went into the Dante network, and then through the primary, and then from there on the other end, we also added the audio from the front of house mixer, the Yamaha board. There's a picture there at some point. You'll see that in a second. And then on the other end, we had attached to the primary network as well, back into the R unit, and from the R unit to the projector, which had an HDMI port in the wall right there. So we just used that. And so the audio and the video came both to that spot in sync. So here's a picture of our rack, and you can see the T unit at the top there. And then on the next slide, I think is when you see the, there's the mixer and the camera itself.
And I'll just maybe interject, this camera, when it was installed or set up, it was meant to send a signal just to a different monitor or screen, right, John?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of the
catalyst
for, well, we have this, why can't we tie it into back here? And so that's where we kind of jumped on this adventure of how to do this over
correct
Dante.
At first, I started playing with using my own camera to solve this solution, but then it was just having another camera sitting on the desk at the front of house, and it was in the way. And so then I was like, well, there's already this SDI camera there. Let's tap into that and use its feed, get it into the Dante network, and then we can grab it on the other end using the R unit. And we're gonna have we were gonna have our first big show coming up on February 10th with, I think, like 400 people coming and a couple, about 100 students in the production. They're very excited to be able to see and hear their cues. So thank you guys for your help.
Great. In case we missed it, some folks were asking, how are you planning on expanding or looking to expand?
Yeah, so this is the expansion area that's going to come next. We're going to ask the IT department just to dedicate one of the ports in this particular space. There's two standard network jacks right there, and so at the rack, we're just going to ask them to put a tie line, and we're going to put that onto the Dante network so that we can use one of these ports permanently as a secondary spot to send this feed. That's one of the expansions. Next will be some potentially broadcasting stuff from the gymnasium, so basketball games. I'm really excited to start to teach the students how to bring stuff into the broadcast room. So that's going to be a next step of learning and playing around with and starting to plug stuff in. Potentially overflow, like I said, for graduation or events, because the IMAG latency is very good. So excited about that.
John, you mentioned the IT department, and that's usually between AV and IT raises a little bit of eyebrows.
Oh yeah.
So talk, if you would talk a little bit about, putting the Dante AV on the network, or not.
So that's going to be the difference. We're not going to actually go onto our actual network to start with. We're just going to use one of those ports and make it a dedicated physical AV port in essence. But what I did do was I had my tech guy go and take that level 1 certification of the Dante training, and it was really just one of those once he saw how it's different, saw how it works, the hesitation went down. So
Wow.
that's been good. It relieved anxiety about what was going on.
Yeah, I would imagine. I've certainly heard lots of those stories. So I'm thinking you just answer this. Do you use a redundant network or the installed system? But you said it's a port,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Nice. Are there PTZ manufacturers supporting Dante on their devices?
Sure. So most of the Dante cameras right now are Dante AV-H. I saw someone mentioned like the PTZ optics camera. And then BZB Gear, Lumens, Avonic, and a couple other folks. But as far as Dante AV Ultra, we have Bolin, who makes Dante AV Ultra native cameras as well as AV-H cameras. So those would be able to send and receive right to the AJA boxes as well.
Great. So, let's kind of talk about the overall benefits, Kat. So once you
Yeah.
kind of go over these benefits.
The biggest benefit that I have found that I think from talking to customers that I've had has been the compatibility and easy to break out Dante audio from those devices, just not having, just being able to take those channels, bring them to any of my Dante audio devices is perfect, as well as like the really ease of just routing our video, just like we do audio and Dante controller. And then I think specifically for the Dante AV-H, the AV Sync feature is huge comparable to other solutions out there. We can go to someone else if they have some other ones.
Yeah, those are the key ones. We talked about what if we say the same thing? Well, we are kind of saying the same thing because you can't discount the importance of ease of use in any professional AV setting, let alone one where you're utilizing volunteers and students operating the equipment. So that's huge. Reliability, like John has touched on a couple times, is another major big factor, and the quality of video. I mean, it needs to work 100% of the time, every time, and that's why we're behind this product.
For me, it was
Yes.
the multicast piece, the low latency, and as Kat talked about, just the ability to bring in and all those different subscriptions of audio and video. You're not like limited to, I set it up this way this time and it's done. Like later on, I can grab things from different places and it can grow as we grow.
Yeah, and I would just add the ability to run everything over a single cable with the PoE, that you can simplify your cable runs and your setup. And just in terms of getting into IP video, that there's already this existing Dante infrastructure that you just add this, the Dante audio infrastructure that you can add the video component to. And the JPEG 2000 codec is extremely high quality. It's used in DCPs for what you see in a cinema. So it's a very robust and good looking codec. And I encourage everybody to take a look at it. If you're going to ISE, we'll have it in our booth, and I'm sure we can talk a bit more about that as well.
There'll be tons of Dante video in the Dante booth, I can tell you. So
How surprising. So a question here, and you may have already answered this in a different way. Dante AV codec is JPEG 2000, as you just mentioned, which is compressed but is supposed to be visually lossless. How does that compare to SMPTE 2110?
yeah, so going back to kind of that like triangle I was talking about, where SMPTE 2110 is really skewed toward like uncompressed quality, right? So it's gonna be really high bandwidth on your network. Visually lossless means by eye you're not gonna see any artifacts, is kind of what that means. Like it is doing compression on the video signal, but you don't really see it, is kind of just what that means.
Great, thank you. If isolated, is your Dante audio and your Dante AV on the same ecosystem?
Yeah, we design it to be made to put on the same ecosystem, same network, same VLAN. Basically, with some really simple QoS management and some multicast management, it should run pretty well. That's kind of why we decided to make Dante AV, because some other solutions it kind of runs better if they are on different VLANs, but for Dante AV, both on the same should be fine.
Great. So how does sync work with multiple video and audio sources within Dante?
Well, it's gonna dive into Kat's world here, but it works the same way within the it's the clock inside the Dante AV eco system is what ties it all together. You want to add some more to that, Kat?
Sure, yeah. So both the audio and video are using precision time protocol on the network to be delivered with like really deterministic latency. So while we say like, oh, it's perfect AV sync, like if you are doing a bunch of routing and processing and that kind of thing, you might need to resync the devices together at some point. But once you resync them, you're not getting that drift that you can kind of get with other
Right.
video solutions because they're not being delivered with that deterministic always on time latency. And of course, like for video walls and that kind of thing, I think Damien mentioned as well, everything will just automatically be in sync for that.
Great. Is a dedicated Dante switch always recommended, or can it accommodate into an enterprise network?
It can. There's, it really depends upon what the enterprise, especially for Ultra, like what the backbone looks like, where you're sending video, but it's not always needed. We've run Dante audio on all sorts of nonsense networks, and I've been on a lot of those projects previous to my current role. For video, yeah, same thing, especially with some of the lower bandwidth solutions, it should be no problem, as well as with AV Ultra, as long as the bandwidth is there, it's the same.
And that's when the IT department will be getting involved.
Yes, they get involved. We have technical sales engineers that can help as well with some of those network requirements and network design things.
Great. Are there any plans for a small form factor transceiving receiving device?
Yeah, we received those requests, and that's obviously, we listen to what the market is asking of us, and try to deliver that. So that's something that we're definitely looking into.
Yeah, I think as we develop out Dante V Ultra, you'll start to see products maybe get a little smaller.
Yeah.
Nice.
But also you have a lot of features in that box that require all of those ports. So, if it's something is just one SDI or just one HDMI, it can be a little smaller form factor.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. We're actually running out of time, and thank you for all the questions. What I will want to wind up with, and I know that we have talked about benefits throughout this hour, but I want to end with asking each of you what the top couple of benefits you feel are for Dante, incorporating Dante. So, Kat, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'd say just joining into the Dante ecosystem and really taking advantage of everything and all the products you already have with Dante. Adding video is easy.
Yeah, I would say the quality and the reliability of it, along with the ease of use.
And Barry?
Yeah, I would say that Dante's been a great partner to work with. Audinate has been, and we're continuing to evolve the products, and as we've noted, our product is continuing to evolve and add new features. So I think that's a key part to know about working with AJA, is that you're going to buy something, but it's not going to be obsolete, that we're going to continue to develop it and add new features like we just did with the 1.1 release with the reference support and HDR. So buy it once and keep it forever.
Nice. So John, let's wind up this benefits discussion for you from as an end user perspective.
Well, for me, like I said earlier, this is a teaching environment, so I have a bunch of different roles I'm trying to teach students. So rather than just going with a networked camera for my broadcast room, I've got some legacy SDI stuff, and I want kids working different roles. I want someone on the camera, somebody on a video mixer, rather than just having one student who knows how everything works and it's all on a computer and they're running the PTZ camera. Like, I wanted them to learn the different roles and how they work. So it allows me in the broadcast area to teach them those roles, and then just have that connect, those SDI things connect in, and it's ready to go.
Great, thank you. Well, this has been a great discussion and so many questions. The panelists will get back to you within a couple of weeks, probably after ISC, because everybody's heading there. Special thank you to John for sharing the end user perspective. Kat, Damian, Barry, really loved it. And you can contact our panelists. You can see here there's QR codes for each one of them. And for anybody who wants to go back, the roundtable will be available in about 24 hours. Just to come back to the conference hub to view it on demand. And thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.